2 Timothy chapter 3. Verse 12. Second Timothy chapter 3 verse 12. This is the lesson we're going to learn today and apply it to our lives. Shall we all read it together? Indeed, all who desire to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. Human tendency is to avoid trouble. Human tendency is to be happy. Human tendency is not to get in trouble. As far as the trouble is, we want to run away from it. But Scripture says, they that like to live a godly life will go through troubles. If you have these bulletin, you should, when you're walking into the church, you should be able to grab one. If you don't have, raise your hand and one of the others will bring it to you. Use this, take a pen and take down the notes while you are listening. We'll look at two different set of people. The book of Daniel has a theme. Listen to me carefully so that you can understand. The theme of the book of Daniel is God Most High. God who is exalted and most high, that is the theme. In the first 6 chapters, it is the life of Daniel, how God uses Daniel and Shedrach Meschech and Abidnego. And the later half of the book from chapter 7 till chapter 12, it is what God is doing and how He will be exalted in the time that He shows to Daniel. So the two divisions of the book of Daniel. First 6 chapters, that how God is exalted through the life of Daniel, through the life of Shedrach, Meschech and Abidnego. As I told you last week, the names of Shedrach, Meschech and Abidnego are what? Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah are the Jewish names. Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego are Babylonian names. I've explained how when you move from one place to another, people change their names. It is the king Nebuchadnezzar who changed their names and gave them new names. Took away the Jewish names, gave them Babylonian names. Even Daniel himself is a Jewish name. The word Daniel means, tell me what Daniel means. God is my judge. Last time Daniel answered this. Brother Daniel answered. Dan means judge. El in Hebrew means God. God is judge is the meaning of the name Daniel. When he comes to Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar renames him. His name is called Belteshazzar, not Belshazzar. There's a king called Belshazzar, Daniel chapter 5. He renames him as Belteshazzar. But now we'll look at it. This Nebuchadnezzar is a wonderful character. God calls him my servant. He is a pagan king who doesn't acknowledge God, but God reveals himself to Nebuchadnezzar. God spoke to him through dreams, and Daniel interprets that. Daniel chapter 2. And then God shows that how he is going to, make Nebuchadnezzar like a beast, and how he will eat grass. That's what God does to Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 4. Now God reveals himself to Nebuchadnezzar, but Nebuchadnezzar does not bow down. Now what Nebuchadnezzar does in Daniel chapter 3 is this. He prepares a huge golden image. And this golden image is about 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide. Huge golden image in the plain of Dura. This is one of the provinces of Babylon. And he sets up people to play music. When they play the music, then we've read about it, the several kinds of music is verse 5. When you hear the sound of horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, every kind of music, they should fall down. Nebuchadnezzar has set up a huge image. And then when the music is played, everybody in the province have to come down and bow down to that image. Here we will learn lessons about worship. worship for himself and how godly people give only worship to God. There are two situations I will explain this. Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego are tested for worship. Daniel is tested for prayer. See, listen to this carefully. Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego are thrown into a fiery furnace for not worshipping that idol. Daniel, on the other hand, was thrown into lions den for not praying to the king, but praying to God. See, two people get into trouble. One for worship, three for worship, and one person for prayer. We'll come to Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego's thing. Firstly, godly people in the fiery furnace. God's people in the fiery furnace. You and I have to go through fiery furnaces of this world. We will see what kind of fiery furnaces we have to go through and how our God is able to save those who put their trust completely in Him. 4 lessons from their lives. Firstly, the golden image. The great predicament of the book of Daniel is this. A lot of people ask this question. Where was Daniel when this image was put? Did Daniel bow down to the image? Bible doesn't talk about that. Where is Daniel? Only Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego are caught. Bible doesn't talk about it, but a lot of theologians give some kind of examples or some kind of even history books to say Daniel was not in town and he went out on king's business somewhere else. Some people say that Daniel was not in the province of Dura, he was somewhere else. They say that. That could be a possible logical explanation, but the Bible doesn't talk about this. Now we'll come to the topic here. The golden image was set, and then everybody is told to worship that. Here, Nebuchadnezzar himself said. Now people go and complain to Nebuchadnezzar. When the music is played, these three Jewish people, Mishael, Hananiah, and Azariah, Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego, did not bow down to this idol. Nebuchadnezzar calls them and says, do you not worship my gods? He is saying here, we have read that word, verse 12. Therefore certain Jews who were appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, O king, pay your attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image. These Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego, they came, these are Jewish people, they are living in a foreign land. Listen to me carefully. You and I are also living in a foreign land coming from a distant country. That may be physically, but also it is true in a biblical sense and spiritual sense that we are the citizens of heaven and we are only pilgrims here. This world and the God of this world, Nebuchadnezzar is a picture there. The God of this world will try to make you and me to bow down to Him. If we are godly people like Shedrach, Meschech, and Abidnego, we will not bow down to the gods of this world. You might say, what are these idols? In our country, in the United States, we don't have the government. It's a democratic government. It doesn't say you have to bow down to this, idols. But if you go to countries where, there is no freedom of worship, they will say, in countries like Saudi Arabia, if you are caught even in your own home, kneeling down, they'll put you in a prison. You cannot worship Jesus in that land. Devil wants to stop the worship God gets. The world in this world worships anything and everything. The people of this world can compromise and can worship anything. Now here, we don't have a golden image that we should bow down to in this world. But Satan is putting up images in your life and my life and wants the worship. Listen to me very carefully. Satan was the anointed cherub of heaven. Ezekiel chapter 28. He looked at God and said, I want to take his place. Then Isaiah chapter 14, there are 5 eyes. He said, I will exalt myself. I will be like Most High. He wanted worship in the place of God. Devil's main job is to rob God